Michael, how are
Hi,
you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for doing this, sitting all the way in New York City.
I was going to say the wonders of technology. It's great that we could do this.
Yeah, I know. I got to know of your work in the Reality Curve film TV event last year, and I noticed that you were back in town this year.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do is come back. First of all, I love Paul Piaskowski, who runs Reality
Yeah.
Curve. He's a great guy, and the response has been amazing
Hmm.
to not only my class, but they put together this whole all-day event, which is pretty great.
Right. How many years
Yeah,
have you been going here?
I believe this will be my fourth year,
Okay.
and we've added other things besides my Audition Psych 101. Uh, we did a class on comedic acting, which was fun.
Okay.
This year, I'm doing one that's specifically on parts of 5 lines and under, which I
Yes, I
maintain.
saw that.
They're so hard.
Hmm.
That one's sold out, but it's yeah. It's been quite a nice relationship with that theater company.
Cool. And yeah, that's a great event for the listeners who are not aware of it. I'm going to share a link to the registration. I think there's a few spots left, so people better jump on it. So, Michael, I'd like to start off with a bit of an origin story about you. So, where were you
Okay.
born, and
Uh,
where did you grow up, and then how did you get into this business?
so the last question is the hard one.
Okay.
I was born and raised in New York City.
Okay.
Very proud native New Yorker, and it's I don't have the most interesting story about how I started in the business. I think as soon as I knew there was such a thing as acting, I knew that's what I wanted to do. It's kind of my calling.
Okay.
But for several reasons, really struggled a long time and didn't work. And I was very, very shy. I was really shy. I had a lot of stuff going on. So I didn't have a particular big break. I just sort of hung in there, and I did what a lot of people do. I waited tables. I
Right.
acted for free. I got whatever little bits and pieces, and then not till my late 30s or so, because I'm a late bloomer and everything. Mid to late 30s, I started to book things and book more, and you know, uh, and it just sort of went on from there. But there wasn't a big breakout thing.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it's a dull story. I'm telling you.
No, but that's really interesting. Is one of the things I wanted to get in with you later is, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and people often
Yeah.
treat it like a sprint.
Yeah, and also
So,
it doesn't travel in a straight line. I think a lot of actors think, you get a job, then you get more jobs, then you get more jobs. But it really is more like one of those what is it, EKG charts. You
yeah.
know?
One of the analogies I've heard is it's like playing careers, snakes and ladders.
Yeah, it is just
You go up and then you get bitten and you fall back down.
yeah,
Cool. So you'll be in town in Vancouver very soon.
yeah,
Here for the Reality Curve event where you do an introduction to your workshop, the Audition 101. And then you're also doing another workshop this year, right?
right.
So can you talk about your workshops?
Well, Audition Psych 101 is a class that I've been teaching for, I think it's 13 years now,
Okay.
all over the US as well
Yeah.
as in Vancouver.
Hmm.
And it's an unusual class because it's strictly about the psychological part of auditioning.
Right.
And the reason this became my expertise is that I was so bad at it. I was so shy, and I suffered through auditions when I was first starting out. I was as bad at it as anybody could be. And over the years, thanks to my very analytical brain, I started to try to separate the truth from the mythology and rethink some of the things that I thought about auditioning. And I found I had some really faulty, weird thoughts that weren't helping me. This is not positive thinking. This is not magic. This is not superstition. This is realigning ourselves with facts. So
Right.
it's a 4-hour class that's mostly a conversation about this stuff.
Hmm.
It's amazing. I mean, the things that, actors have a lot of superstitions. They think there's some magic monologue or some catchphrase you say when you go in the casting office, or some some shortcut. And it's really sort of, we laugh a lot because we realize we all have these crazy ideas.
Right.
I love teaching this class. It's really amazing and fulfilling to me because I love our tribe.
Hmm.
And to be able to alleviate some of the the terror and the fear and the confusion and all the stuff that actors, and I love that actors write to me all the time. They're like, that changed my whole life. Like the next audition was so much easier.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. It's become my specialty, and I really dig it. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I remember from your chat was I'm not gonna, like, saying to yourself, I'm not getting the fucking job. I'm not booking the job. And some people in the room, when I looked around, people were like, "What?" Because
What? Yeah.
People are brainwashed into kind of artificially pumping themselves up.
Yes.
Be like, "Yeah, I got this. Like, I am gonna book it." But then, of course, you're gonna do your best. You're gonna do all the prep. But then there's so many variables, and it separates the result from the process for me
so much. And it's funny because I think a lot of the things I teach are counterintuitive. They're against what a lot of people try to believe.
Right.
I'm not a positive thinker. And I feel like this, the least likely outcome from an audition is a job. And that's just the math. That's not good. It's just the math.
Sure.
So we're trying to thread this needle. And meanwhile, we're not enjoying the couple of moments where you get to, I had 2 auditions today on a Saturday, which was unusual.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get them. I had a great time. What a great way to spend my Saturday being an actor,
Yeah.
So shifting the focus is major. It makes first of all, it's sensible. It's if you look at it, it's logic.
Yep.
But you have to be willing to let go of the sort of the untruths that we hang on to. Mm-hmm. Like I could will this into being. I could prepare enough that they're going to have to cast me. It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not even scientific. As I point out, they don't always even cast the best actor.
Right.
So how are you going to make them cast you? You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, to me, that's not pessimistic. That's just like facing the facts, the truth.
It's like science. I mean, it's like there are so many of us that most of the people who go on the audition will not get the part. That's just it's just math.
Yeah.
So when we sort of relax into that, so much of the nerves goes away because when we're no longer trying to crack a code that can't be cracked.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I'm my own poster child because I love auditioning now. I really love it. I have such a good time.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more fun.
Yeah. So when you were younger in the business and you had all your own superstitions and whatnot, what were some of your things? I'm kind of curious.
Well, I think my worst thing was I always felt like I had snuck in and I didn't belong in the room and they were going to yell at me and tell me to get out because it's a professional audition and I don't belong there. I mean, I really had a lot of stuff about not belonging in the room, and so as a result, I rushed everything, and I would do my material really fast and get out of their way. I mean, I think that was my biggest mythology was thinking they don't want to see me at all.
And most actors struggle with that, I think.
I think so. I think it's funny. The outside world thinks that we're very stuck up. Mm-hmm. That actors are stuck up. I know very few actors who are stuck up. I think most of us have low self-esteem and think that everybody else is better. I know I feel that way,
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us struggle with that, and it's smart to address it early on.
Do you remember the point where you kind of hit this breakthrough?
No, I'm always the last to know. A friend made me teach this class because she said, "You have all this wisdom about auditioning." I said, "I do?" She goes, "Yeah. Every time I have an audition, you tell me." So I didn't know until she pointed it out. I went, "Wow, these are a lot of ideas." But
yeah.
No, I don't remember that point at all. I just remember. Well, part of it also is volume. You go on enough of them. That's part of getting better at it,
right?
But boy, that was this was hard one for me. Seriously hard one. I envy people who don't have. Probably everybody has challenges with auditioning. I think it's one of the hardest things we do.
Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, like one of the things, like you said, everyone's journey is unique. But a consistent thing that I've noticed in myself and other actors is just aiming for the result, right? I mean, if that's what you're thinking about, then obviously you're going to be nervous because, of course, you want it.
Well, and also you're trying to control something you can't control, so you get nervous,
Right.
But also, I coach actors for auditions, which is really fun. And what I love is when they come in thinking about the audition and leave thinking about playing the role.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, I don't care if I get it. I just can't wait to play this part now. And that's the goal, you know?
Right. So you teach this workshop all across the States and in Canada and Vancouver. I'm just curious, as overall, do you notice any differences in the actors in the States versus Canada?
Not at all. And it's one of the things I love is the universality of I always call them our tribe, you know, because we talk actor talk, and it's really remarkable how consistent. And when I've met actors from other countries, same thing.
Right.
Is that, I don't mean that we're all the same. I just mean we have a commonality about us, and that's what I love. I think one of the things that people enjoy about my class is you get a bunch of us in a room, and we start laughing at the fact that we're all thinking the same crap. You know, it's like what? Especially in Vancouver, where it's like hundreds of people in the same room, and we're all going, "Oh my God, it's not just me. We're all crazy."
Yeah. But more in terms of attitude, do you find? Because the general perception is Canadians can be a bit too polite in terms of even their acting, and they're kind of apologetic in their acting.
Maybe so. I mean, it's the same. There's a group that comes to New York from London once a year, and they have the same issue of being much too apologetic. But I don't know if that may be more appropriate to the Canadian market. So I'm not really sure. I know in New York they like brash. You know, they respond well to brash. They don't want apologies. They don't want soft. They want people to just be like, "Sound doing it." You know.
Right. So you still work in theater as well, or you only work in film, TV?
I absolutely work in theater. I love theater, and I've been directing theater lately, which is a lot of fun. Most of the stuff I do is musical theater, which surprises people who know my TV work because I play all these, you know, these asshole lawyers and stuff.
Yeah, lawyers.
But you know, in between those gigs, I'm running around singing and dancing and being stupid. So it's fun. Yeah.
So you mostly direct theater now, or do you act in theater as well? So.
Oh, I act. Yeah, I mostly act in theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How do you balance the two? It must be challenging, no?
Not really. Not so far. I mean, I think people have this idea that actors at my level are just sort of sorting through offers, and it's not true. You know, it's very rare that things conflict because I don't. You know, you take the jobs as they come along.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the thing that's interesting about directing is it's a shorter gig. It's only a couple of weeks, so it's easier to fit into the schedule.
Right. Okay.
You know? But no, I have to get my fix as a stage actor. I have to. There are certain times a year that are reliably slow for TV, summer and around the holidays in the winter. So I'm always off doing something.
Cool. Yeah. So you've been in New York your whole life? Did you ever move out west?
I lived in LA for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of where my career started to take root.
I see.
And I just, you know, at a certain point got homesick and moved back to New York. But LA was good to me.
Yeah.
I'm missing the weather right now, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that's one thing I appreciate about the West Coast. I mean, there's a little bit of snow here and the city shuts down.
Yeah, right. I'm sure Toronto is used to snow.
Yeah, similar to New York.
Yeah.
But so basically you missed New York and that's why you moved back.
Yeah. And I really want to do more theater. It's my joy. So I'm, you know, back here where there's a lot more theater. Mm-hmm.
So Michael, I was going through your website and it's a wealth of information. There's so many. I love your videos. You do weekly videos, right?
Yeah, this is something I just started doing a little while ago as kind of my gift to people. You know, even with the 4-hour workshop that I teach about auditioning, there are still tiny little issues that I never get to. So I started doing these 5-6 minute videos on all kinds of minutia, like what do you do if you're running late? Picking out an outfit, like all these little things that people worry about. And people, my subscribers write to me and they're like, do one on this subject, do one on this subject. And people are loving them. And I just, they're on my website, auditionpsych101.com.
Yeah.
And it's just a free little thing I do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was just looking through them and there's one on memorization, not auditioning, which is a good one again, because sometimes actors, when they're not auditioning and then they just go stir crazy.
Yeah. There's also what I call the goodies page that has articles and quotes and just anything I come across that I think is valuable to people in and around this subject. And I hope people are visiting it. I think they are checking out all those things.
Yeah, this is awesome. And I noticed that you also write on Backstage, right?
Not anymore. That was a long time ago. I used to write the advice column for Backstage.
Okay.
Which I loved. I loved that. That column closed up. I think like 2013 or so.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic that an actor with your experience level is kind of giving back. So.
Well, I think that's very much part of our tradition. Like that's how I learned stuff was from people with more experience than I. And I take that responsibility really, really seriously, very, very seriously. And also it's a joy. I mean, it's really a joy to do it. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it. I don't think people really get how fulfilling it is to sort of reach back and go, hey, here's a little thing I learned. This is going to help you. And have people go, oh, wow, thank you. And like, that's an amazing feeling. It really is.
Yeah. So the other workshop that you'll be teaching in Vancouver, it's the nailing the small role, all right?
Yes. That one it's sold out, but I'll tell you about it anyway.
Yeah.
As I said, I do a lot of coaching for actors, and I have found that the small roles, 1, 2, 3 lines, those are hard.
They're the hardest, I find, for me.
They're really hard. It's easier to do 4 pages of dialogue for me. And I remember what that feeling was of like, it's like being shot out of a cannon. All of a sudden you have this spark of a second. Yeah. And it's very easy to kind of cramp up and freak out. And, so I love the clients who come to me to work on these 1 and 2 line parts. It's really smart.
Yeah.
It's also amazing that very often we go, oh, I didn't see that. Here's an interesting thing. Yeah. So I started doing a class, just a lab, where we do a whole bunch of sides that are just, some of them are way dull, like, more coffee, and some of them are a little more involved, and sort of helping people see where to find the clues, right, when to let it go, when to throw it away, and how little you can actually do. Actors aren't trained for those.
They're not, no.
In acting class, you don't do the waiter asking for more coffee.
Yeah.
In acting class, you do, Hamlet. We're always the leads.
Yeah.
And so there's a tendency to want to make an interesting, unusual choice and stand out. And those things are death. That's just the worst. The worst goal is to try to stand out and be different.
Yeah.
Instead of just finding out if the customer wants more coffee.
Right. Yeah. No, that's very good advice. I mean, I find those challenging. I tend to go for a lot of like characters in charge. If I go for the small roles, like SWAT officers or police cops. And like you said, like my first line is freeze, so I enter with this, no time to get in. It's just like be on right away. Right.
You got to jump in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's really, I mean, I'm going to give this tip to your listeners, because it sounds so simple, but it's really saving my ass in my auditions. It's like, rather than trying to get a job, like, especially like if you're the SWAT team guy, you have to communicate. You have to make sure they know what you're saying, and that that there's something that you want to tell somebody and make sure they get it, or find out if the suspect is guilty or not, whatever it is, and embracing that task of like, I'm going to go make sure that reader knows that we're from the SWAT team.
Yeah.
And they got to cooperate or whatever.
Right.
It saves your butt. It just kicks all the nerves out.
Right.
That SWAT team leader doesn't care about an audition or a casting director.
Yeah. You're selling the part, right? You're a SWAT team or your doctor, or you're
right.
Use that for sure.
Right.
What are some other things you notice actors do in those smaller auditions that can mess them up?
I talked about trying to stand out, which I think is a terrible mistake. And they try to show how interesting they are as actors, and there's this really bad mindset of do something nobody else is doing.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about that one.
Say again.
Let's talk about that one, because I hear that a lot.
Yeah. So here's what I figured out. The casting director sees an unusual choice,
right,
from his or her perspective. but the actor doesn't get there by trying to be unusual. Do you follow? So like I did a part on this show called Vinyl. Mm-hmm. And when I got to the set, the director said, we changed the whole idea of this character based on your reading. And I thought, I didn't see any other way to do it.
Right.
I wasn't trying to be different.
Yeah.
Trying to be different leads to illogical choices, like, I'm going to give him an accent for no reason, or, make him really nervous, even though it's not in the script, or, create some sort of weird intrigue. And if it's not there, don't do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be unique just by virtue of being unique.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a trap. It's really a bad trap.
Yeah.
So I see people do that, and I also see a lot of people come in very apologetic because they're sort of embarrassed that it's such a small part, so they're like feel dumb, or they want to create some sort of conversation in the room. Mm-hmm. for no reason, and there's all that jittery, weird energy. It's like, throw that shit out. It's just it's not scoring any points. Yeah. Maybe that's hard. I think that's hard advice to follow, but I think once you realize that this one line, that is the gig. That's the gig today. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, yeah, I actually don't even like the word choice, because to me, because choices, it just sounds so artificial, right? You're like, oh, okay, this is what the material is, and what's a choice here?
I agree with you.
Just like focus on material hard enough, you will find it in the writing what it is.
Yeah, the choice is just do it. It's like, now that I'm directing more, they're like, well, what's your concept? I'm like, do the play. That's my concept. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I mean, we torture ourselves. We do. We put ourselves through a lot of crap we don't need to do.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, it's something you said earlier. A lot of us struggle with not feeling enough.
Yeah,
and we have to add more on top, and just you is enough, and your authenticity is all it needs to make it stand out.
Yeah, there was this one guy in my last class, 5 lines and under class. Mm-hmm. And this guy is just a really unusual type. And what we all discovered together from watching him was on this particular actor, mm-hmm. he didn't have to do a damn thing. He was fascinating. The less he did, the more interesting, because he's just interesting.
Right.
And it's really remarkable for people to work in a group like that. And there's almost always one take where I go, okay, now do nothing.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, that was my favorite one. It's a weird thing.
It is.
We want to feel like we're working, but sometimes the best work is not working.
Yeah.
Like not working that hard.
That's true. Very true. Any other audition tips that you?
Oh, I mean, there are so many. I teach a 4-hour class in those. Yeah. God, now I have to sort of select from my collection.
Okay, actually, let me ask you a more specific question.
Okay, yes, good.
So this is about chit chat in the audition room, right? I'll give you my perspective. I'm not a big talker in audition rooms because I feel cheap. I feel like I'm trying to sell myself. So I'm maybe at the other end of the extreme where I go in, I just say hello, and sometimes even if they try to make conversation with me, I'm just like yes or no answers because I just want to get to the audition. Yeah. Maybe that's an extreme, but yeah, what's your perspective on that chit chat in the audition room?
Well, I'm happy to say I'm at a point now where I just, it's like talking to normal people. I don't have like a weird, I think what I caution people against is anything that involves effort, where you're trying to do something. You're trying to create a false conversation because you think it's going to make them like you more, or that stuff is very uncomfortable for the casting director to be around,
Right.
So it's the manipulative kind of conversation that you really have to watch out for. It's I think as you know, I teach that we should take care of them instead of them taking care of us.
Right.
And I always want them to be comfortable. So in this case you described with you, if the casting director wants to talk, I think you should be available for that.
That's true. No, I'm not an asshole. I will be but I don't know. I feel it depends. I think
it depends on the role too. Like if you're going in for all these SWAT team guys, they probably would answer like that.
Right. Yeah, it depends on the zone I'm in. And,
Right. I don't think that's wrong at all. I don't think that's wrong at all. But you know,
and for me personally on this, I actually prefer to talk after the audition. Like, let me do
yeah,
the audition and then let's chit chat a little bit
yeah.
because I don't know, this is my thing. But
I think that's great knowing what works for you.
yeah,
I had one audition, couple. Oh, I don't remember when, but we ended up talking about this actor that was in the waiting room who's brilliant. And
right.
it's like the funniest thing. This is just the conversation just organically went. I was like, that guy is so good. And she goes, isn't he? I'm like, he's just like, I've seen him in so many things. And that was that's where the conversation went.
Right. Oh,
And, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And I like just kind of being relaxed and open enough to do that.
Right.
You know?
I mean, it all depends on the relationship you have with someone, right? If you know them, then you know them. But like you said, it's not trying to artificially create something that's not there.
No, I think actors sometimes think, well, I have to let them know my personality, and then they'll be more likely to cast me. And it's all this mythology. It's like they just really just do the part. That's the main thing. They're really looking for that more than anything else. You know,
Right. So, Michael, you've worked on a ton of shows that I love, and what are some of your most memorable projects that you worked on?
So, of course, The Wire, because it was such a good show. I'm ready to watch it again. I haven't seen it since the first time around, and I forgot how great that show is. And of course, it was an honor to be on it. I think the ones that are the most memorable for me are the ones that are the weirdest and the most unusual. I got to do a part on a show called Banshee, which is a really dark, weird show.
Okay.
And I play lots of lawyers and suits and doctors and stuff. I don't know how, but they decided they wanted me to play this guy, an ex-con, Southern. I had long hair. I had neck tattoos. I had scars. I was smoking and drinking and cursing. I got to do a stunt fight. And I'm like, this never happens in my career.
You're not getting the job for sure.
You know what I mean? It was like, I don't know how this happened. I had no bag of tricks. And it's, those are the ones I remember the most are the ones where I got to really stretch as an actor. Now, last year ago, Christmas, I was doing Hairspray on stage, playing a woman, dancing in heels. It's like, that's when I go, it's kind of amazing to be an actor. Like, I'm playing all these really out there parts, So I know people expect me to say, The Wire and The Deuce and The Good Wife and Blacklist. I don't know if all these play up where you are.
Yeah,
but,
they do.
And I, of course, love doing all those shows. I mean, I love them. Law and Order is the most fun to work on.
Oh, is it?
Because Mariska Hargitay, and you would never expect this, is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my whole life.
Oh, really?
She is so damn funny, and we crack jokes between takes, and then we go at each other, and I just that one's a lot of fun. I always get excited when I get to go back to that show.
Wow.
Yeah. She always makes fun of me.
Right?
Say again?
Filmed in New York? Is it filmed in New York?
It's filmed in New York. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they usually bring me back to defend the worst criminals possible. Last time it was a rapist. The other time it was two guys who put their mother in the freezer. And,
oh my God.
So I'm always the lawyer defending those guys. But but in between takes, we're just being stupid.
Yeah. So The Wire, you were in, which seasons were you on?
I was on all 5 seasons.
All 5. Okay.
Yeah.
And you were playing the DA who was defending Anna Stringer Bell, Idris Elba's character, right?
I was playing the lawyer for the drug gang. For the entire drug gang. Anytime the drug dealers got in trouble, I was their guy. Yeah.
So what was that experience like?
Well, what I love about it is, again, I'm like a comedy guy. I like musical theater, and here I was playing this really serious scumbag that everybody hates. Right. And again, that was fun. Like, fans of the show walk up and they're like, "Oh, I hate you," and they're smiling. It's just like, that's a big compliment as an actor, because in real life I'm like nothing like that guy. Right. So, yeah, and of course it was just an honor. It was an honor to be on that show. I really can't. I still marvel that I got chosen for it, because I think that one was a breakthrough role. I mean, I'd been working for years, but I think that certainly upped people's awareness of me, which is neat.
Right.
But I think the best thing about it was being such a jerk.
Mm.
Like I played just the worst guy. He had no ethics whatsoever. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, just such an amazing cast of actors.
Oh my God. You know, what I love about that show is particularly that it's so many black actors who we never heard of, just laying down brilliant performances that I watch them. I'm like, I don't even know how to do what you're doing. They're, and not just the leads, but Chad Coleman, who played the boxer,
right?
And there's so many of them. The characters of Brother Mouzone and Proposition Joe, and these guys. The guy who played Proposition Joe was an acting teacher. He trained all the kids for season 4.
Oh,
and
wow.
And I love to hear all these guys playing gang members, and they're like out of Juilliard and Yale, and they're like Shakespeare guys, and that made me happy. I think it kind of, I feel like the unwritten message is, write the roles. The talent is out there, So, yeah, it's a good one. That was a good one. It's so hard to sort of pick other favorite experiences, but the other one is I've done The Producers now 7 times, and that's fun. It's totally exhausting, and I love it. So
is that on Broadway? Where are you doing that?
I did The Producers on tour. Toured the whole country in The Producers, and then doing just regional productions of it wherever they want me. Yeah.
So you love doing that show?
I love doing it. I love the live stuff. It's really fun. Yeah. Coming up, I'm doing a pretty heavy project. I'm doing a mini series called The Plot Against America.
Okay.
And it's based on a book written by Philip Roth. And it's an alternate reality story where if this different guy had won the presidency instead of Roosevelt back in the 40s, how everything would have changed.
Oh, wow.
It's scary as hell. It is so scary.
So it's like a dystopian drama?
It is, and it's way too close to home for what's going on with us now.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're filming that currently?
I'll start in April.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is that HBO?
Yeah, it's another HBO.
Yeah, it sounds like HBO.
another David Simon project for HBO. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, they've been good to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, obviously HBO is up there basically in terms of the quality and probably the best. Do you notice any difference working between HBO and other? What is it about them? How do they maintain that?
Well, one of the things is they take their time. They create a schedule that really allows for quality work.
Right.
And they're also not afraid of things that are controversial or different, or or casting people who are not stars.
Right.
So I don't know. I've had a very good relationship with them, and I'm so grateful for all I did the HBO film opposite Robert De Niro, which was amazing. About Bernie Madoff, and it's kind of I still can't believe I get to do work of that fantastic quality, because I'm like all of us. I'm convinced I'm faking it, and I don't know what I'm doing.
So on TV, you do a lot of serious drama, and like you mentioned, not a lot of people know that you're a huge comic actor.
Yeah, that's my thing.
So do you find you do more comedy on stage and more drama on TV? Exactly.
And it's really jarring for like fans of The Wire who come see me, singing and dancing and being funny. They're like, I don't even understand what's happening right now. It's fun, but I think having fun with this stuff is sort of the key to everything. And it's again one of the magical things, and why I'm so looking forward to this class in Vancouver is getting to sort of re-inspire actors to focus on the art more than the career. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the role you get to play today at the audition. And by the way, I think, I don't know if you mentioned this, but the day is not just me. They've got a casting director. They've got a director. I believe they've got. I forgot. I should have this at the tip of my tongue, but I don't. But it's oh, you have it there.
Yeah, here I'll
Um,
just pull it up. Oh yeah, it's so I know Rekha Sharma, who's an actor here in Vancouver, is going to be moderating it, or she's one of the panelists, and then
mhm.
one of the moderators is an actor here. They have
Yeah.
Clark and Page, who are one of the major casting directors here, and then there's I think David something. Yes, he's the showrunner. He's a showrunner of one of the shows here, and a director.
It was so cool last time because I did my 4-hour class and I shared my controversial opinions and I had a little skepticism. And then the
Mm,
casting director, who had not watched my workshop, came in and confirmed everything I had just said. And
right.
people were like going, wow, you really like, it was almost like I had paid him to do it. But, uh, um, yeah, it's amazing. And it always sells out. We've got just I think a week left. It's on the 2nd and 3rd of March. I've
Right.
lost track of time. It's less than a week, isn't it?
Yeah, less than a week. So it's Robert
Yeah.
C. Cooper, who's going to be the other panelist.
And yeah. So it's a full day of stuff. I really, really want your listeners to grab those remaining seats because it doesn't happen often, and it's a really you went to it last time.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, it was a valuable experience.
realitycurve.com/audition event is where people can register. So it definitely is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Michael, being in the business so long, I mean, it's refreshing to see that sometimes you meet actors who've been doing it for a while and there's a hint of cynicism or jadedness about the business.
Yeah.
I don't really get any from you.
No.
So how have you managed to not let that creep in at all?
Low expectations. My career has so exceeded what I thought would happen because I'm such a cynic myself. That I don't mean cynic, but I'm like pessimistic. That I still can't believe that I'm like the guy who's the guest on your podcast. Like we were talking about all this HBO stuff. I'm thinking, wow, is that me? So I think I really am anti-entitlement. I don't ever think that anybody's entitled to a career. So everything that I get to do, I'm amazed. I'm amazed. I really am because there are lots of better actors than I who are not having the success that I'm having. So I'm well aware that I'm really lucky. Mm-hmm. But also, and this is such a corny thing to say, but it's really important, especially, you had written to me to ask about like what I would say to a younger actor. Mm-hmm. Relishing where you are in your journey will save you a lot of heartache because there's always something else. There's always a dangling carrot. There's always something else that you want to do. And I see actors really drive themselves nuts focusing on what they haven't gotten to yet. Like when I first started out, like I was like, how do you get an agent? How do you get an agent? I wasn't going to get an agent at that stage. I should have just enjoyed, the theater I was doing for free, the classes I was taking, right, and being where I was being. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be ambitious and aspire to more, but to feel like you have failed unless you reach this or this or this or this, that can go on your whole life. Yeah. I mean, I am very successful in television, not so much in New York theater. So if I could be driving myself crazy over that.
Right.
But I'm like, no, shut up. Look at where you are right now. And I think that's a really important thing that's kept me really enjoying what I do. And like I said, the low expectations and the lack of entitlement, I'm like, I never think, well, how dare they? I should have gotten that part. Never.
Yeah, that's great. I love that you said that. Gratitude. And I mean, I find especially younger actors these days, growing up just hooked onto social media, it's so easy to fall into that trap of constantly comparing yourself.
Oh God, yeah. It really is. And yeah, that's deadly. That's deadly. And social media it's not real. I mean, I think we only hear about the success stories for the most part. People don't post and say, oh, I got overlooked for this part. Yeah. Mostly they're like, hey, let's celebrate. So it's really just the highlights kind of, yeah. I mean, one of the things I wish I had known when I was first starting out was that behind all that, everybody's got their own anxieties. They've got their own insecurities. They've got their own things that they're worried about. And that group includes directors, casting directors, producers, everybody.
Right.
I always felt like I was the weirdo, you know? Turns out we're all weirdos.
Yeah, we are.
You know?
We're all human.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah, what else can I tell you?
What are some, let's say, habits that you've picked up along the years that have just helped you stay focused, dedicated, balanced, mentally healthy?
Yeah. The mentally healthy thing is important. I feel like particularly for actors, getting to know what your issues are and dealing with them is really important, because like if you have anger issues, it's going to come out in rehearsal. You're going to get a bad reputation. You've got to deal with that shit on your own. I'm very open about the fact that I suffer from depression. I resisted taking medication for it for a long time. And it was very difficult to function in the business when I was not on medication, because I was a downer and I'd get weird and I'd crash out. And, you know, I mean, and you don't want that to be your reputation. Right. So whether it's getting therapy or, you know, a religious practice or meditation or whatever it is, I think it's really important to pursue self-knowledge. And I don't mean this in a big fat spiritual way. Yep. I just mean you got to know yourself, and you got to know what your shit is and deal with it. Because you can't put that on other people, you know. Very true. So that's really important. You know, and also I don't want to set myself up as a you know the perfect example. I mean, I get between jobs, I sometimes get like freaked out, or I waste time. You know, I'm not productive all the time. I have found though that you know, right now I wear a lot of hats, and it's great to have other things to do besides acting, because God knows that doesn't happen all the time. Right. You know, I think one of the best things that actors can do for themselves is cultivate the camaraderie of actors. You know, it's a good group, and we like to take care of each other. And I think that's our best resource is us, you know, for support, for people who really know what the hell you're going through. Yeah. Who know what it feels like when you get bummed out, you know, or think you're not good, and to really build a circle, good circle of actor friends. You know, we're also, listen, people, me and my friends tell each other about opportunities all the time. I just did a performance the other night that wouldn't have happened if my friend hadn't said, "Hey, you should contact these people." Oh, wow. You know, I think we overlook that a lot. Everybody wants to be casting directors and producers and directors, and really, I think actors are your best resource. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some people have this perception that we're always competing against each other, right? A bit unhealthy vibe. No, I don't think that has to be true. I think we have to just not embrace that competition, because we're really not in competition. You know, you can't out-act someone. That's the wrong way to approach it, you know? Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny. Like, first of all, like if in an audition they like you, they like someone else, they're gonna like someone else regardless of you if they like them. It's like dating. This is the other thing. Like, okay, so I just finished casting a play that I'm going to be directing. Yeah. We had to not choose. I only got to choose one person for each role. There were brilliant people who didn't get cast. Right. I think we make the mistake of thinking, well, I must have done something wrong, or I must have not been good enough. Not true. It killed me. It killed me having to turn away for this one particular actress, this one particular role. It killed me making that decision. I had a hard time choosing, because there was so much good work being done. And I would hate to think that those actors went away thinking that they had failed. Right. That's, like I said, this is the norm. The norm is not getting the job, you know? So if we think of it as a failure, we'll drive ourselves crazy. It's just the norm, you know? We always think, well, what could I have done? Nothing. They choose who they choose. That's all. You know? How do you switch between directing and acting? It's kind of easy, actually. the fact that I'm an actor very much informs the way I direct, because I really want to provide the kind of atmosphere that I like as an actor, which is I want to be trusted, I want to be heard, I want to have a voice in the character, and I really don't like when a director when I feel like I have to negotiate for that. So in my rehearsal rooms, everybody's got a voice. Everybody's honored for their artistry, and it's kind of an easy switch, and it's really something to sit out and watch other people do what we do. You know, I'm awestruck. I'm awestruck by watching actors. It's very inspiring to me. Yeah, it really is.
Do you prefer one over the other?
I will always be an actor first. The directing is just a sideline. It's just a sideline. It's just that I feel like this is going to sound arrogant, but every time I direct, I feel like I'm rescuing a cast of actors from a bad experience, because I've had certain directors that weren't especially kind. Right. So with me, they always get kindness.
Since you work both in theater and film, I mean, I think there's often too much noise around, oh, this is theater acting and this is film acting. What's your perspective on that?
I got to tell you something. I think that's true. I think it is different.
Okay. So what are the major differences for you?
To me, I think of it as in versus out is how I look at it.
Okay.
Like in theater, I feel like I'm pushing the energy out into the audience, and in film and TV, it's like, no, let them come to me. I'm just going to do my thing and let them witness it. And it's taken me a lot of years to realize the camera can see you think. Anything more than that, it's too much. Right. Anything more than truth is too much.
Right.
Whereas sometimes on stage, that would never get across the footlights. So it really is. I mean, I'm a truth freak. Everything should be truth, but it has to. As I sometimes say to my coaching clients, it has to have a balloon under it. In theater, sometimes it has to be filled up more. And I find them really, really different. One of the funniest and strangest times of my career, I was on tour with the producers and flying in on my days off to do The Wire. And there are no two shows that could be more different than that. Right. And it was a tough adjustment, very tough. Yeah. To go from running around screaming and singing and dancing at the biggest over the top to the quietest, smallest level of acting. So I find theater actors often want to show what they're doing instead of
presentational.
Instead of just letting it happen.
Right.
I mean, one of the other things is that on camera, you can watch someone think like. It'll sustain a pause like nobody's business. It doesn't feel like anything has dropped out. It's just the characters pondering. So
I agree. I mean, I agree. The camera loves to see you think more than hear you talk.
It's amazing. I've been noticing lately how actors who I admire, and just seeing how they, when it's appropriate to the scene, they take their damn time.
I like how you described the in versus out too. I remember, I think it was Susan Sarandon. She said, when asked the same question, and she said, theater acting is like making love, and film acting is like masturbating.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of very within yourself,
That makes sense. I mean, I think that's not a bad analogy. I just don't like when people say, "Oh, it's bigger," because that makes it sound like phony.
Right.
I don't think stage is necessarily bigger. I just think it's, I don't know,
projected.
Something. Yeah. I don't know how to describe it any better, but it's certainly different to me.
Yeah. Because it still has to be truthful, right? Even on stage, if it's not truthful.
Well, it's like, for example, in farce, I've done a lot of farce. It isn't that it's a hammy fake style. It's that the stakes are so high that it makes it bigger, because it's you take something trivial and make it life and death. It's funny,
Right.
But it's, as I often say about comedy, it is rarely funny to the characters. That's what makes it funny. So yeah.
Cool. Any big differences that you find between New York and Los Angeles in the industry? I mean, obviously New York has a way larger theater scene, but
Um, uh, I don't think I want to say because I'm a little biased.
you just like living in New York better.
I like New York actors better. I just,
Oh, really?
generally speaking, but yeah, don't quote me on that.
Can I ask you why?
Oh man, you're really going to do this, huh? I think that actors in New York are a lot more study oriented and craft oriented and work oriented, and in Chicago even more so.
Okay.
There are some people in LA who just think, well, I'm cute, so I guess I'll be an actor, and are a little bit more interested in becoming famous and recognized than It's a terrible cliche, and it is not exclusively true. I mean, I know insanely talented actors in LA who are incredibly dedicated. Believe me, I do.
Right.
But I think that particular category exists more in LA than in New York. The more frivolous ones.
Right. I mean, that's a bit of because the thing is, like, even in LA, I mean, there's people from everywhere, right? So I guess maybe there's a bit of the fame-seeking culture a little bit. But
yeah, as I said, there are really, really crafty, actors who are really working on their stuff and seriously talented in LA. I just think that New York doesn't tolerate the other kind as much.
I see. Okay. There's more of a filter in New York for that.
I think so. I think it's the city challenges you every day, in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe in LA it's easier to live in a bubble. You just get in your car, drive, go there, drive back. In New York, you're kind of forced to face humanity, right?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's one of the things I love about New York. I mean, LA is sort of self-segregated in some ways, where people just stay with their little, enclave, and it's a shame because there's so many things when I'm walking around in New York that I just shake my head and go, oh, "That's New York for you. That's New York." Things you just never thought you'd see.
Yeah. It's interesting because, I mean, in Vancouver's basically a service down to Los Angeles. Like, Vancouver's actually, I think, number 3 or number 4 in number of productions in North America now.
Really?
Yeah. I think maybe Atlanta's higher, or I think Vancouver might be number 3.
Oh.
Like last year, there was something like 56 shows here, all American. 50 out of those 56 were American.
Wow.
Yeah, well, all the CW stuff here, everything is shot up here.
It's good to know in case I have to flee the country, because I looked into that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Vancouver's a good place. Cool. So you will be in Vancouver soon. March 3rd is the Film TV audition event, and then you have your workshop right after. When you come here, how long do you usually come for?
Just a few days. Yeah.
In and out.
Yeah, just so you know, the Audition Psych 101 workshop is part of the all-day event. So
yes, I know that.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yes. Sorry. I thought you said the workshop was.
Oh no, I meant the.
The 5 and under.
The other audition you have. Workshop, the small part.
Right. Yeah,
and that is sold out yet? Not already though, right?
That one's sold out. Yeah. I have to keep that one smaller because we're working on scenes and stuff. So the Audition TV and Film event is a big, huge crowd, and it's a lot of fun.
Right.
I'll also have copies of Audition Psych 101, the book, for sale there, in case people want to take that with them. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It always is. So that, and I want people to visit auditionpsych101.com and subscribe to those videos.
Yes.
Because I think they'll be helpful.
I think they're great. And your book is also available on Amazon, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Michael, 2 more things before we end the episode.
Okay.
I'm going to throw the Bernard Pivot questionnaire at you.
Okay.
Okay. So you can't take too long to think about the answers.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Okay, Michael, what's your favorite word?
Borscht.
What's that?
Borscht.
Oh, borscht, like the dish?
You asked me not to think about it. Okay. That was my first thing that came out.
What's your least favorite word?
Flatulence.
That's a good least favorite word. What's your favorite sound?
Rain.
Least favorite sound?
People talking during live theater.
Does that happen in New York a lot?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I'm always the one who shushes people.
Oh, wow.
I can't stand it.
What is one profession other than your own that you would most like to attempt?
Psychologist.
Hmm. What is one profession that you would never like to attempt?
Firefighter.
All right. And what's your favorite curse word?
Motherfucker.
Great one. That's mine too. If
You know what's
heaven
good about? Can I just say? You know what's good about that? In the jazz world, a motherfucker is somebody who can really play. So
Right.
it could be positive or negative. You know, I hang out with a lot of black people and really like somebody's singing, they're like motherfucker.
Yeah, that's true.
Motherfucker. That's so it's good both ways.
All depends on the context, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If heaven exists, and you don't have, even if you're not religious, more just speaking metaphorically, what would you like to hear at the pearly gates?
It was close, but you made it in.
That's a good one. Cool. Michael, my last question to you before we end this episode. I love to hear about people's personal journeys and some challenges that they've faced, because I find that if challenges are where we really learn from our failures or setbacks, and if you take the time to really reflect on it, it can lead to exponential growth.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some challenges that you've had that you've really, really grown from?
You know, what comes to mind was one of my most difficult lessons. There was one play I did where I was the monster, and I didn't know it.
You mean you didn't realize when you say you don't know? Okay.
I didn't realize until later.
Okay.
I was playing a part that was really taking a toll on me, and I took it out on everybody around me. And I also, this is in the wisdom in retrospect, I had feelings about what everybody else was doing, the lighting person, the costume person, departments that were not my department, you know, thoughts about, what the director was doing. And I allowed all that to make me really, really, really edgy. And I didn't know it. I just didn't know it. I was taking it out on everybody. This is what I mean about dealing with your shit,
Right.
And I have to say something a little bit, it might sound conceited because it's important to the story.
Mm-hmm.
I was really good in this part. Everybody really raved about me and the reviews and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When they mounted it again, they did it without me. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I went, oh God, I was that bad to work with. I was that unpleasant to work with. And I'm telling you, Kunal, I'm being very honest with you.
Yes, please.
It grieved me. It grieved me to my core. I was so upset with myself. I had a hard time forgiving myself. It really was a long process. And I went around and apologized to everybody, and some of them were not accepting of that apology because I was that awful to work with. I was that much of a beast.
Wow.
And the good news about this is that I have since then built a reputation as being really, really great to work with. And every time people say, oh, you're the easiest person to work with, I'm like, thank God. Thank God I recovered from that. But it took that to really make me freak out and go, oh, I don't want to be that guy. I don't have the right to ruin someone else's experience,
Right.
So listen, I've been very candid with you. Yeah, that was a tough one.
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think it's an important story because sometimes people get wrapped up in that, if you call it method way of working or whatever, and then you separate that line, not just for your own mental health, but of the people around you and your family.
And also stick to your department.
Right.
That was a big lesson for me. Is like, if the lighting cues are wrong, I shouldn't be noticing that. Yeah. I'm not, you know what I mean? And I was getting mad at everybody. Just stuff that was none of my business.
Right.
It's always funny when actors say, they have this conversation backstage that I say it almost always starts with, don't you think? They're like, don't you think she should come in later on that line? I'm like, well, when you play that part, make sure you do. Because today, you're not playing that part.
That's true.
Or
actors directing other actors.
So yeah, we do. But you've said something very profound. We do learn from some of our biggest failures. You know, that was a big one for me.
So when you now play characters who are maybe kind of assholes in film, TV, how do you separate? Like, how do you switch on and off?
Well, first of all, I'm not that methody. So,
Okay.
so it's, it's, I think it, but also the idea is so in place in my head that I don't have the right to make people's experience unpleasant, no matter what the fuck is going on with me. I don't have that right.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I guard my reputation, vigilantly.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it gets around that people are like, oh, he's difficult to work with, that's death.
Mm-hmm.
That's death, So whatever I'm feeling, I don't take that out on people anymore, ever. That just can't happen. Because that's how profound that experience was. It was like, wow, this is awful. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Michael.
You're welcome.
Great.
I'm
Thank you.
sure there's somebody out there who needs to hear that today.
Oh, for sure.
For
sure. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I've come close sometimes to that. But yeah, it's just about being a professional too, right?
Well, it's hard because we deal with, very emotional topics sometimes and, very vulnerable, very, exposed stuff. So that's why, managing your mental shit, it's funny, that's become the theme of tonight. It's like, you got to manage your mind, you got to take care of that part of you.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know the New York scene, but sometimes I've seen acting teachers here that are borderline abusive in terms of you go to a class and,
oh, fuck that.
You know what I'm talking about, right? So,
oh yeah, I don't stand
the actor
for it.
teacher trying to be the therapist, or okay, let's talk about this thing you had when you were a child. And I've even seen male teachers getting like very inappropriate with female actors and getting them to like take off clothes just to feel vulnerable and yelling at them, and then they break down, and then it's applauded like a major breakthrough. But
that's
to me, that's
nonsense.
Nonsense is abusive. It's also amateur acting, because on set, no one's going to yell at you.
No,
it's not an actor. You can get someone off the street and yell.
I'm a great believer in the dignity of the actor, and I think that we have to always stand up for that and not be afraid to say "fuck you," I'm out, and walk. Because if somebody's inappropriate, it's nothing is worth that. No acting class, no job, no anything. No, it's never worth it because it takes a toll on you. Right. So
yeah, cool. That's a great note to end the episode on, Michael. Thank you so much for your time.
It was such a pleasure. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Thanks, Michael.